When Olivia Lancaster is forced to spend 2 months on a struggling farm to learn real work, she never expects to clash with the rugged Carter Hayes or uncover his shocking secret. As unexpected feelings grow, will love blossom in the last place she ever imagined? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Olivia Lancaster stepped out of her glossy red convertible and stared at the farmhouse in disbelief. This couldn't be happening. The wooden structure looked like it had seen better days, much better days. Paint peeled from the siding, and the porch sagged slightly on one end. "You can't be serious," she said, turning to her father, who stood beside his chauffeur-driven Bentley. William Lancaster, silver-haired and impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, crossed his arms. His weathered face, normally soft with affection for his only daughter, was now set in stone. "I've never been more serious in my life, Olivia," he said. "You've left me no choice." At 26, Olivia had spent her life moving from one expensive whim to another. Shopping sprees in Paris, spontaneous trips to Monaco, and a string of relationships with men her father despised. She tossed her long blonde hair over her shoulder, a gesture that usually softened her father's heart. "Not today. Daddy, this is ridiculous. You can't make me marry someone I've never even met." William checked his gold watch. Richard Townsend was a perfectly suitable match. Educated at Harvard, family fortune, good connections, and the personality of a cardboard box, Olivia cut in. "I won't marry for money, Daddy." "No, you just want to spend it," he snapped. "Well, if you won't appreciate wealth, you'll learn to live without it." As if on cue, a man emerged from the barn across the yard. Tall and broad-shouldered, he wore worn jeans and a faded flannel shirt. His strong jawline was covered with stubble, and his brown hair looked windswept. As he approached, Olivia noticed his eyes, a striking blue that contrasted with his sun-tanned skin. "Mr. Lancaster," the man nodded respectfully. "Carter, William," replied. "This is my daughter, Olivia." Carter Hayes extended a calloused hand. "Nice to meet you, Olivia." She ignored his hand. "This is insane. I'm not staying here." William's voice hardened. "You will stay, and you will marry Carter in 2 months as arranged, or I'll cut you off completely. No money, no car, no credit cards, nothing." Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. "You wouldn't dare. Try me." Her father's expression didn't waver. "Carter has graciously agreed to this arrangement. You'll live here, learn what real work is, and maybe, just maybe, develop some appreciation for what you've taken for granted your entire life. And if I refuse, then you'll be completely on your own for the first time in your life. Your choice." Tears of frustration welled in Olivia's eyes as her father turned toward his car. 2 months, Olivia," he called over his shoulder. "Make them count." The Bentley disappeared down the dirt road, leaving Olivia alone with a stranger she was supposedly going to marry. "Your room is upstairs," Carter said, his voice maddeningly even. "First door on the right, I'll bring your bags up." "Don't bother," she snapped, grabbing her designer suitcase. "I won't be here long enough to unpack." The bedroom wasn't what she expected. While small, it was clean and surprisingly cozy, with a handmade quilt on the bed and curtains that matched the pale blue walls. Olivia sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out her phone. No service, of course. She stormed downstairs to find Carter in the kitchen, calmly preparing dinner. "There's no cell service here," she accused. He glanced up from chopping vegetables. "There's a landline in the living room if you need to make calls. Internet's spotty too, but it works most days." "How do you live like this?" One corner of his mouth lifted in what might have been a smile. "Quite happily, actually." Olivia paced the kitchen. "Look, I don't know what my father is paying you for this little charade, but I'll double it if you just drive me to the nearest town." Carter continued cooking, unruffled. "I'm not being paid anything." "Then why agree to this absurd arrangement?" He shrugged. "Your father helped me out once. I owed him a favor." "Some favor," she muttered. "Dinner's in an hour," he said. "Feel free to look around the farm if you'd like." Olivia stormed out the back door. The property stretched before her, fields of what looked like corn, a red barn, and in the distance, a pasture where cows grazed lazily. It was all so rural. She wandered toward the barn, her designer shoes completely impractical for the terrain. Inside, she found a tractor that had seen better days and various farm equipment she couldn't identify. The place smelled of hay and earth, not unpleasant but completely foreign to her. A soft mewing caught her attention. In the corner, a mother cat nursed several kittens. Despite herself, Olivia knelt to get a better look. "That's Daisy, Carter's." Voice came from behind her. "She had her kittens last week." Olivia stood quickly, embarrassed to be caught showing interest in anything on the farm. "I was just looking for a place with cell service." "You won't find it in the barn," he said, amusement evident in his voice. "Dinner's ready if you're hungry." But to Olivia's surprise, dinner wasn't terrible. Carter had prepared a simple but tasty meal of roast chicken, potatoes, and fresh vegetables. "Did you grow all this?" she asked, despite herself. Carter nodded. "Everything except the chicken. That came from the Wilsons' farm down the road. So you actually know how to cook. When you live alone, you learn to feed yourself." Olivia pushed food around her plate. "This arrangement is never going to work, you know. I'm not going to marry you." "I figured as much." His calm acceptance irritated her. "Aren't you upset? My father basically promised you a rich wife." Carter looked at her directly, those blue eyes serious. "I never expected you to go through with it, Olivia. I agreed to give you a place to stay and show you what farm life is like. What happens after that is up to you. At least we agree on something," she muttered. After dinner, Olivia offered to wash the dishes, not because she wanted to help, but because she needed something to do. As she scrubbed, she glanced out the window. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink over the cornfields. It was pretty, she had to admit. Carter appeared beside her with a dish towel. "I'll dry." They worked in silence for a few minutes before Olivia spoke. "So what's your story? How did you end up here?" "Family farm," he said simply. "Been in the haze. Family for generations. And you never wanted anything else." Something flickered across his face. "I've traveled, went to college, came back because this is home." "What did you study?" "Agricultural science and business management." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Seems overqualified for a struggling farmer." That hint of a smile again. "Who said I was struggling?" Before she could respond, the phone rang. Carter dried his hands and went to answer it in the living room. Olivia could hear his side of the conversation, short, businesslike responses. When he returned, his expression was thoughtful. "I need to check on something. In the South Field tomorrow. You're welcome to join me if you'd like." "I'm not interested in farming," she replied coldly. He shrugged. "Suit yourself, I'll be up at 5. 5 in the morning? Olivia couldn't hide her horror. "That's farm life," he said, hanging the towel to dry. "Good night, Olivia." True. To his word, Carter was up at 5. Olivia lay awake, listening to him move around downstairs. After an hour of trying to go back to sleep, she gave up and got dressed, choosing the most casual clothes she had brought, designer jeans and a silk blouse. When she came downstairs, Carter was already gone. A note on the kitchen table read, "Breakfast in the warming oven. Gone to check irrigation system, back by noon." Olivia found eggs, bacon, and biscuits, keeping warm. She ate alone, then wandered around the house. Despite its modest exterior, the inside was comfortable and well-maintained. The living room held a worn but clean sofa, bookshelves filled with agricultural texts and classics, and a few family photos. One photo caught her eye, a younger Carter in a graduation gown, standing with an older couple she assumed were his parents. They looked proud, ordinary farm folk, nothing special. But why did her father, a billionaire businessman, owe this farmer a favor? Curious now, Olivia explored further. The office off the living room was locked, which seemed odd. What? Did a farmer have to hide? By mid-morning, boredom had set in. Olivia tried the landline, but her father's secretary refused to put her through. Her friends didn't answer numbers they didn't recognize. Frustrated, she decided to take a walk. She headed toward the south, field where Carter had gone. The sun was already hot, and she regretted her impractical shoes once again. As she approached, she saw Carter talking with 2 men in business suits, a strange sight against the backdrop of cornfields. Olivia ducked behind a tree, watching. The conversation seemed intense, with the men gesturing toward the fields while Carter nodded thoughtfully. One of the men handed him what looked like documents, which Carter reviewed before shaking hands with both men. Who were these people? Why would businessmen visit a remote farm? As the men headed toward a black SUV parked on the access road, Olivia retreated to the house, her mind racing with questions. When Carter returned, Olivia was sitting on the porch pretending to read a magazine she'd found. "Enjoy your morning?" he asked, removing his work gloves. "Not particularly," she replied. "Who were those men you were meeting with?" If he was surprised by her question, he didn't show it. "Agricultural consultants. They help with crop planning." They looked more like businessmen than farmers. Carter shrugged. "Farming is a business, Olivia." Before she could press further, a truck pulled into the driveway. An older woman with gray hair and a warm smile climbed out, carrying several containers. "Carter Hayes, you've been hiding your guest," the woman called out. Carter smiled, a real smile this time. "Mrs. Wilson, this is Olivia Lancaster." "Olivia, this is Martha Wilson, my neighbor and the best baker in the county." "Lancaster?" Martha looked surprised. "Any relation to William Lancaster?" "He's my father," Olivia admitted. Martha's eyes widened slightly as she glanced at Carter, who gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. "Well, I brought over some lunch and my famous apple pie," Martha said, quickly recovering. "Thought you might like a home-cooked meal your first day here." "Carter cooks just fine," Olivia said, surprised to find herself defending him. Martha laughed. "Oh, I know he does. Carter's full of surprises." They ate lunch on the porch with Martha chattering about local gossip. Olivia noticed how everyone she mentioned seemed to know and respect Carter. Even the bank manager had supposedly asked for his advice on something. "Your farm must be doing very well," Olivia commented after Martha left. "Everyone seems to think highly of you." Carter looked slightly uncomfortable. "Small town. Everyone knows everyone. And agricultural consultants in expensive suits just drop by regularly. Like I said, farming is a business." He stood up. "I need to fix the fence in the north pasture. Want to help?" Olivia gave him an incredulous look. "I don't do manual labor." "Might be good for you," he said, that infuriating half-smile appearing again. "But suit yourself." Days turned into a week, and Olivia found herself settling into a routine against her will. She still refused to help with farm chores, but she'd begun waking earlier and taking walks around the property. The kittens in the barn were growing, and she found herself visiting them daily. One morning, she overheard Carter on the phone again, using terms like quarterly projections and investment portfolio, hardly the vocabulary of a simple farmer. When a sleek car pulled up later that day, Olivia was even more confused. A distinguished-looking man in an expensive suit emerged, greeting Carter like an old friend. "Miss Lancaster," Carter said formally, "this is James Peterson, a business associate." Peterson looked startled. "Lancaster, William's daughter?" "The same," Olivia confirmed, studying the man's reaction. "I didn't realize—" Peterson glanced at Carter, who gave him a warning look. "We have some business to discuss," Carter said. "Excuse us." They disappeared into the locked office, leaving Olivia more suspicious than ever. That night, Olivia confronted him. "What kind of struggling farmer has business associates who drive luxury cars?" Carter sighed. "I never said I was struggling." Then, "What aren't you telling me? And what's in that office you keep locked?" "Business papers, farm accounts that need to be locked up in a house in the middle of nowhere." He studied her for a moment. "Why do you care, Olivia? You've made it clear you can't wait to leave this place." The question caught her off guard. Why did she care? "I just don't like being lied to." "I haven't lied to you," he said quietly. "There are just some things I don't discuss." And in her second week at the farm, Olivia woke to the sound of rain pounding on the roof. She came downstairs to find Carter pulling on a raincoat, storms causing flooding. "In the lower field," he explained. "I need to check on the livestock." Looking outside, Olivia could see the rain coming down in sheets. "You're going out in that?" "Animals don't feed themselves," he said simply. Without thinking, Olivia grabbed her jacket. "I'll help." Carter looked surprised but handed her a pair of rubber boots. "These might fit." The rain was cold and relentless as they made their way to the barn. Inside, Carter showed her how to distribute feed to the chickens while he prepared larger amounts for the cattle. "Why are you suddenly helping?" he asked as they worked. Olivia shrugged. "Bored, I guess." The truth was more complicated. Despite her resolve to hate everything about this place, she'd found herself observing Carter with growing curiosity. He worked harder than anyone she'd ever known, yet never complained. He was educated and clearly intelligent, but chose this seemingly simple life. And there was something else, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the quiet confidence in his movements, the gentle way he handled animals. It was attractive. "We need to move the cattle to higher ground," Carter said, interrupting her thoughts. "Can you help?" Together they guided the small herd to a sheltered area on higher ground. By the time they finished, they were both soaked and muddy. Back at the house, Carter built a fire in the fireplace. "You should get changed," he suggested. "I'll make some hot chocolate." When Olivia came back downstairs in dry clothes, she found Carter in fresh jeans and a sweater, his hair still damp from a quick shower. 2 mugs of hot chocolate waited on the coffee table. "Thank you for helping," he said as she sat beside him on the sofa. "You didn't have to." "It wasn't terrible," she admitted. "Though I'm not planning a career change to farming." He laughed, a rich, warm sound she hadn't heard before. "Somehow I didn't think so." As they sipped their drinks in comfortable silence, Olivia realized something unsettling. In the firelight, with his guard down, Carter Hayes was not just attractive. He was handsome in a way that made her pulse quicken. "Tell me something real about yourself," she said suddenly. He looked surprised. "What do you want to know?" "Anything. Something true." Carter was quiet for a moment. "I lost my parents 5 years ago. Car accident. That's when I took over the farm. Completely." "I'm sorry," she said, genuinely meaning it. "My mother died when I was 12, cancer." He nodded. "Your father mentioned that. Said you changed after she died." "I did," Olivia admitted. "She was the sensible one, kept me grounded. After she was gone, Daddy gave me whatever I wanted. I think he was trying to fill the void. Did it work?" She looked into the fire. "What, do you think?" They talked late into the night, the storm raging outside while they remained warm and surprisingly comfortable with each other. Olivia learned that Carter had traveled extensively during college, that he played guitar, and that despite his capable cooking, he couldn't bake to save his life. She found herself sharing things too, her love of art, her brief attempt at fashion, design that her father had dismissed, her series of shallow relationships with men who wanted her money or her father's connections. "You're not what I expected," Carter said as the fire burned low. "Neither are you," she replied softly. The next morning, Olivia woke feeling different. The idea of leaving the farm didn't seem as urgent as before. She got dressed and went downstairs, finding Carter already at work repairing storm damage. Without being asked, she made breakfast. When he came in, surprise crossed his face. "You cooked?" "Don't get too excited. It's just eggs and toast." They ate together, making plans for the day. The storm had caused a tree to fall near the barn, and Carter needed to clear it. "I can help," Olivia offered, surprising herself again. Working together, they cut up the fallen tree. Olivia's soft hands quickly developed blisters, but she refused to complain. There was something satisfying about the physical work, about accomplishing something tangible. "You're tougher than you look," Carter commented as they finished. "Don't sound so surprised." He studied her, those blue eyes thoughtful. "Why are you really helping, Olivia?" She wiped sweat from her forehead. "Maybe I'm tired of being useless." His expression softened. "You're not useless, just unused to this kind of life." That afternoon, more visitors arrived, a group of local farmers seeking Carter's advice about crop rotation. Olivia watched from the porch as they gathered around him, respectful and attentive. He spoke with authority, pointing to different fields and making suggestions they eagerly noted. When she brought out lemonade for everyone, the farmers seemed shocked to see William Lancaster's daughter serving drinks. One older man whispered something to Carter, who shook his head firmly. Later, she asked, "What did that farmer say to you?" Carter hesitated. "He was surprised to see you here. Your father's reputation precedes him. And what's my reputation? People talk. They say William Lancaster's daughter is spoiled, demanding and impossible to please. Olivia flinched. And what do you say? I say they don't know you, Carter replied, his eyes meeting hers. Not the real you. The words hung between them, charged with something Olivia wasn't ready to name. She turned away, unsettled by the warmth spreading through her chest. 3 weeks into her stay, Olivia's father called the landline. The conversation was brief and one-sided, with William doing most of the talking. Your father wants to know if you're ready to come home yet, Carter said, holding out the phone. Olivia hesitated, then shook her head. Tell him I'm staying. Carter raised an eyebrow but relayed the message. After hanging up, he turned to her. You surprised him. Me too. I'm not done figuring this place out, she said. Or you. That evening, they drove into town for supplies. Olivia was struck by how everyone greeted Carter, not just with friendliness but with respect. The bank manager came out specifically to talk to him. The mayor stopped him on the street for advice about the town budget. Why does everyone treat you like you're running for mayor? She asked as they drove home. Carter chuckled. I've lived here my whole life. People know me. It's more than that, Olivia insisted. That bank manager practically bowed to you. You're exaggerating. But she wasn't, and they both knew it. One night, unable to sleep, Olivia crept downstairs for a glass of water. A light under the office door caught her attention. Carter was still up, working late. She shouldn't pry. It wasn't her business. But curiosity overcame her better judgment, and she quietly approached the door, which was slightly ajar. Through the crack, she could see Carter at a desk, reviewing documents spread before him. On the computer screen was what looked like stock, portfolios and investment reports. Hardly typical farmer concerns. As she leaned closer to see better, the floorboard creaked beneath her foot. Carter looked up sharply. Olivia? Caught, she pushed the door open. Sorry, I was just getting water. What are you working on so late? He didn't answer immediately, and she took the opportunity to step into the office. What she saw made her freeze. Walls were covered with framed business certificates and awards. Most prominently displayed was a large framed photo of Carter shaking hands with her father in front of a building that bore the name Hayes Agricultural Enterprises. And below that, a business magazine with Carter on the cover with the headline, America's Youngest Agricultural Mogul Keeps It Real. Olivia stared at him in disbelief. Who are you really, Carter Hayes? Who are you really, Carter Hayes? Olivia's voice trembled as she stared at the magazine cover. Carter stood slowly, his expression unreadable. I'm exactly who I said I am, a farmer. And apparently the owner of Hayes Agricultural Enterprises, she said, gesturing to the magazine. America's youngest agricultural mogul? Keeps it real? Her voice rose with each word. Were you ever going to tell me? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Eventually, when the time was right. When would that be? After we got married? Anger and confusion swirled inside her. This whole time you've been… What? Playing poor farmer to test me? No. His voice was firm. This isn't a game, Olivia. This is my life. My real life. I run my company from here because this is where I want to be. Olivia shook her head in disbelief. So you're not just a farmer with a few acres. You own… Hayes Agricultural Enterprises owns farms in 6 states, plus processing facilities, distribution networks, and seed development labs, he finished for her. But this farm, this original Hayes family farm, is where I live and work. And my father knew this all along. It wasn't a question, Carter nodded. Your father and I have done business together for years. He invested in my company when I was just starting out. Olivia felt like the floor was tilting beneath her feet. So this whole arrangement was his idea, not mine, Carter said quickly. He called me a month ago, said he was worried about you, asked if I would help teach you some perspective. The betrayal stung deeper than she expected, not just from her father, but from Carter. She'd begun to trust him, to see him differently. And all along he'd been hiding this enormous secret. So you and my father cooked up this little scheme to teach the spoiled rich girl a lesson. Her voice was bitter. How amusing it must have been for you." "It wasn't like that," he said, taking a step toward her. "Your father thought—" "I don't care what he thought," Olivia cut him off. "And I don't care what you thought either. You lied to me." "I never lied," Carter insisted. "I just didn't tell you everything. A lie of omission is still a lie." Olivia backed toward the door. "I'm going to bed, and tomorrow I'm leaving." She turned and ran upstairs, ignoring him calling her name. Olivia spent most of the night packing and crying. How could she have been so stupid? She'd actually started to have feelings for him. Carter Hayes, the supposedly simple farmer, who turned out to be just another rich man playing games with her life. When morning came, she dragged her suitcase downstairs, determined to leave even if she had to walk to town. Carter was in the kitchen, looking like he hadn't slept either. "Going somewhere?" he asked quietly. "I called a taxi. It should be here soon." He nodded, not arguing. "I made coffee." "I don't want your coffee." Carter sighed. "Olivia, will you just listen for 2 minutes before you go?" She crossed her arms. "Fine, 2 minutes. Yes, I have money. Yes, I run a successful company. But this farm isn't some hobby or front. It's the heart of everything I do." His eyes searched hers. "I grew up here, working these fields with my father and grandfather. When I developed new farming methods in college, I used this land to test them. My success grew from this soil. That doesn't explain why you kept it from me. When your father first told me about you, I had my doubts about his plan," Carter admitted. "But then he showed me pictures of you, told me stories about the real Olivia, the one who used to volunteer at animal shelters, who wanted to design clothes that made women feel beautiful regardless of their size. The Olivia who got lost somewhere, along the way." His words hit uncomfortably close to home, but Olivia maintained her stony expression. "I agreed to his arrangement because I was curious about that, Olivia," he continued. "And I didn't tell you about my company because I wanted you to see me, the real me, not my bank account. Just like I wanted to see the real you, not William Lancaster's spoiled daughter." "And did you find her?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "This real me you were looking for?" Carter's expression softened. "I think I caught glimpses, especially in the barn with those kittens, or during the storm when you didn't hesitate to help." The sound of a car horn interrupted them. The taxi had arrived. "That's my ride," Olivia said. "You don't have to go." She picked up her suitcase. "Yes, I do. I need to think, and I can't do that here." He didn't try to stop her as she walked out the door. William Lancaster was surprised when his daughter arrived at the mansion's doorstep. He dismissed the staff, leading Olivia to his study. "Back so soon?" he asked, pouring himself a scotch. "I thought you might last longer." "Did you enjoy your little scheme?" Olivia demanded. "Setting me up with a millionaire while pretending he was poor?" William raised an eyebrow. "So you figured it out? Was this all just some elaborate test to see if I could love someone without money?" Her father took a slow sip of his drink. "It wasn't my original plan. I truly intended to send you to a struggling farmer to teach you some humility. But then I remembered Carter, your business associate." "More than that," William corrected. "Carter. Hayes is one of the most brilliant minds in agricultural business. Started with that small family farm and built an empire. But unlike most wealthy men, he chooses to live simply, to stay connected to the land that made him successful." "So you thought, why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone?" Olivia's voice was bitter. "Teach your daughter a lesson and get her a rich husband in the process?" William sighed. "I thought you might actually like him, Olivia. He's not like those shallow playboys you usually date. He has substance, integrity, and lies. Don't forget the lies. Did he actually lie to you? Or did he just let you assume?" Olivia didn't answer. The truth was, Carter had never claimed to be poor. She had made assumptions based on the farmhouse, his clothes, his lifestyle. "Carter Hayes doesn't flaunt his wealth because it's not what defines him," William continued. "That's a quality I hoped might rub off on you. So you admit this was all a manipulation?" Her father met her gaze directly. "Call it what you want. I was trying to help you find yourself again, Olivia. The daughter I used to know before she got lost in parties and shopping and superficial relationships." The words stung because they echoed what Carter had said. "I haven't been lost, Daddy. I've been living my life." "Have you?" William asked quietly. "Because from where I stand, you've been hiding from it, ever since your mother died." Tears sprang to Olivia's eyes. "That's not fair." "Life rarely is." He set down his glass. "Your room is still as you left it. Stay as long as you need." For a week, Olivia retreated into her old life. She went shopping, met friends for lunch, attended a gallery, opening. Everything that had once filled her days, but something felt off. The conversations seemed shallow, the parties pointless. She found herself thinking about the farm, the sunrise over the cornfields, the satisfaction of physical work, the kittens in the barn and Carter, always Carter, his quiet strength, his genuine smile, the way he treated everyone with respect regardless of their status. One afternoon, her father found her sitting in the garden, staring at nothing in particular. "Penny for your thoughts," he said, joining. "Her on the bench. I think I miss the farm," she admitted reluctantly. William smiled. "Just the farm. Don't push it, Daddy." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before William spoke again. "Your mother would have liked him, you know." Olivia glanced at her father. "Carter," he nodded. She always saw through pretense, valued authenticity above all else. He patted Olivia's hand. "You're more like her than you realize." The comparison warmed her heart. She'd always wanted to be like her mother, gracious, genuine, kind. "I don't know what to do," she confessed. "I feel so foolish." "About what?" "Everything. Being angry at you, running away from the farm. I don't even know if Carter would want me back after the way I left." William chuckled. "Why don't you ask him yourself? He's coming to dinner tonight." Olivia's eyes widened. "What? Why didn't you? Tell me." "I'm telling you now." He stood up. 7 o'clock. Wear something nice." Olivia spent hours getting ready, changing outfits repeatedly before settling on a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes. She styled her hair in soft waves and kept her makeup minimal, a far cry from her usual glamorous look. When she descended the stairs at 7, she found Carter in the foyer, talking with her father. He wore a well-tailored suit that fit his, broad shoulders perfectly, but his hair was still slightly tousled as if resisting formality. Her heart raced at the sight of him. He looked up, their eyes meeting across the room. For a moment, neither spoke. William cleared his throat. "I just remembered some urgent business calls I need to make. You two go ahead and start dinner without me." Disappeared, leaving them alone. Typical Daddy, Olivia thought, subtle as a sledgehammer. "You look beautiful," Carter said softly. "Thank you." She gestured to his suit. "You clean up well for a farmer." A smile tugged at his lips. Still a farmer, at heart. The dining room table was set with fine china and crystal, candles flickering in silver holders. It was the kind of elegant setting Olivia had grown up with, but now felt strangely overdone after weeks at the farmhouse. As they sat down, awkward silence stretched between them. "Your father said you've been back for a week," Carter finally said as the first course was served. "Enjoying city life again?" "It's familiar," Olivia replied carefully, "but not as satisfying as I remembered." "Oh?" She met his gaze directly. "I keep thinking about the farm, the sunrise, the kittens. They miss you," he said, "especially the orange one. You were his favorite." "Just the kittens." Carter set down his fork. "I miss you too, Olivia. The house feels empty without you complaining." "About the rooster waking you up too early." She smiled despite herself. "That rooster has a personal vendetta against me. I think he was just jealous of your ability to sleep past dawn." The tension between them eased slightly as they slipped into the comfortable banter they'd developed. "At the farm. Why did you come tonight?" Olivia asked as they finished the main course. "Your father invited me to discuss a business proposal." "Is that all?" Carter hesitated. "No. I wanted to see you, to explain better than I did that night." "I'm listening." He took a deep breath. "I grew up watching my parents work that land. They weren't rich, but they were happy. When I started expanding the business, making real money, I saw how wealth changed people around me. Friends became associates, Relationships turned transactional. Olivia nodded, understanding all too well. I made a decision then, Carter continued. I would build my company, but I wouldn't let it change who I was or how I lived. The farmhouse, the daily chores, working the land myself, that keeps me grounded, reminds me where I came from. So it's not an act. It's the most authentic part of my life, he said firmly. The business meetings, the corporate offices in the city, that's the performance. The farm is the reality. Olivia considered his words. I think I understand. It's like how I feel most real when I'm designing clothes. Not buying them, but actually creating something. Carter's expression brightened. You still design? Sometimes, when no one's watching. She shrugged. Daddy always said it was a waste of time. I'd like to see your designs sometime. The sincerity in his voice made her chest tighten. Maybe you will. As dessert was served, Carter looked at her thoughtfully. So, what happens now, Olivia? You go back to your life? I go back to mine? Is that what you want? No, he said simply. I want you to come back to the farm, not because your father arranged it, not because of some deal or obligation, but because you want to. And if I did come back, she asked carefully, what would I be to you? A guest, a friend, a fiancé? That would be up to you. His blue eyes were earnest. I think we were just starting to discover something real between us when the truth got in the way. The truth has a way of doing that, Olivia murmured. So maybe we start over, Carter suggested. No secrets, no arrangements, just two people seeing where things might lead. The offer hung between them, full of possibility. I'd like that, she finally said, but I have conditions. Carter raised an eyebrow. Such as? I want my own garden at the farm, and I want to turn the spare room into a design studio. He smiled. Done. Anything else? Yes. You have to promise no more secrets. I want to know everything. The good, the bad, the complicated. I promise. Carter reached across the table, taking her hand in his. Complete honesty from now on, her. Father chose that moment to reappear, looking suspiciously pleased with himself. I trust you two have sorted things out? Olivia exchanged a look with Carter. We're working on it, Daddy. Excellent. William clapped his hands together. Now, Carter, about that business proposal. 2 days later, Olivia returned to the farm. This time, she drove herself, her car filled with clothes, design supplies, and a new determination to discover who she really was and who she and Carter might be together. The farmhouse looked different now that she knew the truth. She noticed small details she'd missed before, the high-quality fixtures, the subtle but excellent craftsmanship, the carefully chosen furnishings that balanced comfort with elegance. Carter was waiting on the porch, casual again in jeans and a flannel shirt. He looked more natural this way, more himself. He helped carry her bags inside, showing her to the room he'd cleared for her studio. I had some proper lights installed, he explained, and ordered a drafting table. It should arrive tomorrow. Olivia was touched by his thoughtfulness. Thank you. I meant what I said about starting fresh, he said. No pressure, no expectations. She nodded, grateful for his understanding. One day at a time. The first few days back at the farm established a new rhythm between them. Carter still rose early to work, but Olivia often joined him for morning coffee before he headed out. She spent her days setting up her design studio, sketching ideas that had been dormant for years. In the evenings, they cooked together and talked, really talked. Carter told her about building his company, the challenges he'd faced, the mistakes he'd made. Olivia shared stories of her childhood, her relationship with her parents, her abandoned dreams. Why did you stop designing? Carter asked one night as they sat on the porch, watching fireflies dance in the gathering dusk. Olivia sipped her wine, considering. After my mother died, I showed some sketches to my father. He said fashion was frivolous, that I should focus on something substantial. That doesn't sound like William. He was different then, grieving. We both were. She traced the rim of her glass. Later, when I brought it up again in college, he suggested business school instead. Said I could always design as a hobby. Carter frowned. But you have talent. How? Would you know? You've never seen my work. I may have peeked at your sketchbook when you left it open, he admitted. The evening dress with the asymmetrical neckline? It's incredible. Warmth spread through her, partly from the wine, partly from his praise. You really think so? I know so. He leaned closer. Would you design something for Martha Wilson's 70th birthday next month? The whole town's planning a surprise party. Excitement fluttered in Olivia's chest. How you want me to design a dress for Martha? If you're willing. She always complains she can't find anything that fits right and looks good. I'd love to, Olivia said, her mind already racing with ideas. I'll need her measurements, and we'll have to be sneaky about it, Carter grinned. I'm sure we can manage that. The project gave Olivia purpose. She worked on designs every day, eventually settling on a flattering, comfortable dress that would suit Martha's full figure and lively personality. Carter arranged for a seamstress in town to help with the actual construction, sworn to secrecy, about the surprise. Working together on the project brought them closer. Carter respected Olivia's expertise, valuing her opinion and admiring her creativity. For her part, Olivia began to appreciate the complexity of Carter's world, the balance he maintained between running a major agricultural corporation and preserving the hands-on farming lifestyle he valued. One morning, Olivia woke earlier than usual and decided to surprise Carter with breakfast in the fields. She packed a thermos of coffee, some muffins she'd baked the previous day, and headed out to find him. The sun was just rising, painting the sky in pink and gold. She found Carter by the irrigation system, checking gauges and making notes on a tablet. Breakfast delivery, she called. He looked up, surprised and pleased. This is unexpected. Good unexpected, I hope. The best kind. He accepted the thermos gratefully. You're up early. Thought I'd see what all the fuss is about. She gestured to the sunrise. It's beautiful out here. They sat on the tailgate of his truck, sharing muffins and coffee as the day brightened around them. I have a meeting in the city tomorrow, Carter said. Want to come with me? You could do some shopping, visit your father. Olivia considered. The offer. Will I get to see the famous Hayes Agricultural Enterprises headquarters? If you'd like, it's nothing special, just offices. I want to see all of your world, Carter. Not just the parts you think I'll like. He smiled at that. Fair enough, we'll make a day of it. The Hayes Agricultural Enterprises building surprised Olivia. Located in a renovated warehouse, it was open and airy, with plants everywhere and natural light flooding through skylights. Employees moved about purposefully, but without the frantic energy she associated with corporate settings. Everyone greeted Carter warmly, not with the deference of subordinates, but with genuine respect and often affection. He knew them all by name, asked about their families, listened to their ideas. In the conference room, Carter introduced Olivia to his executive team. This is Olivia Lancaster, He faltered, obviously uncertain how to define their relationship. Friend, Olivia supplied smoothly. For now. The meeting was fascinating. Carter led discussions about sustainable farming practices, market forecasts, and community impact initiatives. He was confident without being arrogant, authoritative without being dictatorial. This was a different side of him, the business leader, the visionary. Afterward, as they walked through the research lab where scientists were developing drought-resistant seeds, Carter explained his company's mission. We're trying to bridge the gap between traditional farming wisdom and cutting-edge technology, he said, finding ways to produce more food with less environmental impact while keeping family farms viable. It's impressive, Olivia said sincerely. You've built something meaningful. I try. His expression grew thoughtful. My grandfather used to say we don't own the land. We're just borrowing it from future generations. Later, over lunch at an upscale restaurant, Olivia noticed how different Carter seemed in the city. Equally comfortable, but somehow less authentic. Here, he was Carter Hayes, CEO. At the farm, he was simply Carter. You prefer the farm, don't you? She asked. Even with all this success, he nodded. The farm keeps me honest. Reminds me that no matter how many spreadsheets and projections I review, at the end of the day it's about soil and seeds and sun and rain. And what about me? Olivia asked, the question slipping out before she could reconsider. Where do I fit in your world? Carter reached across the table, taking her hand. Wherever you want to be, Olivia. The farm, the city, both. I just want you in my life. Her heart skipped. They hadn't defined their relationship, hadn't even kissed yet. Both seemed hesitant to rush what was developing between them, afraid to shatter the fragile understanding they'd built. I want that too, she admitted, but it scares me. What does? Feeling this way about someone, especially someone my father approves of. She smiled wryly. It's uncharted territory, Carter laughed. Well, if it helps, I'm pretty sure your father had an ulterior motive in introducing us. Beyond teaching me humility, he mentioned something about grandchildren the last time we spoke. Olivia groaned. Of course he did. After the city trip, something shifted between them. The careful distance they'd maintained began to shrink. Their conversations grew more personal, their glances lingered longer, and they found excuses to be near each other. One evening, as Olivia worked late on Martha's dress, Carter brought her tea and sat watching her work. Your face changes when you're designing, he observed. You look complete. She looked up from her sketch. That's how you look when you're in the fields. I've been thinking, he said, his voice purposefully casual. You should show your designs to some boutiques. I know a few owners in the city. Olivia put down her pencil. You think my work is good enough to sell? I think it's exceptional. His certainty made her breath catch. You have a real talent, Olivia. It shouldn't be hidden away in a spare room. No one had ever believed in her creative abilities like this. Not her father, not her friends, not the string of men she dated, but Carter, who built an empire from a family farm, who understood, both vision and practical reality, saw something in her work that others had missed. Thank you, she whispered, suddenly close to tears. That means more than you know. He crossed the room to her, kneeling beside her chair. I see you, Olivia. The real you. His hand cupped her cheek, thumb gently wiping away a tear that had escaped. The tenderness in his touch undid her. She leaned forward, closing the distance between them. Their first kiss was gentle, hesitant, a question being asked. The second was the answer, more certain, deeper. When they pulled apart, Carter's blue eyes were dark with emotion. I've wanted to do that since the night of the storm. Why didn't you? I needed you to see me clearly first. All of me, the farmer and the businessman. I needed to know you were choosing the real Carter Hayes. Olivia threaded her fingers through his hair. And now? Now I'm hoping you'll stay. Not just for a while, but for good, she finished. He nodded, suddenly looking vulnerable. This powerful man, this agricultural mogul who commanded respect throughout the industry, was watching her with the anxious eyes of someone risking his heart. I think I could be happy here, Olivia said softly. With you. But I need something of my own too. My designs. A purpose beyond being Carter Hayes's wife. I wouldn't want it any other way. His smile was radiant. Partners in every sense. She kissed him again, feeling a certainty she'd never known before. This was right. He was right. As the weeks passed, their relationship deepened. Olivia continued working on her designs while helping more around the farm. She discovered she had a knack for the business side of agriculture as well, offering insights that sometimes surprised Carter with their perceptiveness. Martha's birthday party was a success, with the older woman bursting into tears of joy when she saw the dress Olivia had designed for her. Word spread quickly, and soon other women in town were asking Olivia about custom designs. With Carter's encouragement, she converted part of an outbuilding into a proper studio and began taking commissions. Lancaster Designs was born, focusing on elegant, practical clothing for women of all ages and sizes. One evening, as they sat on the porch swing watching the sunset, Carter seemed unusually quiet. "Penny for your thoughts," Olivia said, echoing her father's words from weeks before. Carter took her hand, his expression serious. "I've been thinking about our arrangement." "What arrangement?" The one your father made. 2 months, he said. Time's almost up. Olivia's heart sank. She'd almost forgotten the original terms of her stay. Are you asking me to leave? Just the opposite. Carter slid off the swing, kneeling before her. From his pocket, he produced a small velvet box. I'm asking you to stay, permanently. He opened the box to reveal a ring, not a flashy diamond as she might have expected once, but a beautiful emerald surrounded by smaller diamonds. Green for the fields that brought us together, he explained. Olivia Lancaster, will you marry me? Not because your father arranged it, not because of my company or your name, but because somewhere between arguments about roosters and sharing hot chocolate during a storm, I fell completely in love with you. Tears blurred her vision. You love me? With everything I am, the farmer and the businessman. I love you too, she whispered. Both versions of you, all versions of you. He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, of course. Carter Hayes didn't leave details to chance. Is that a yes? He asked, his blue eyes hopeful. Olivia pulled him up to sit beside her, cupping his face in her hands. Yes, 1,000 times yes. As they sealed the promise with a kiss, Olivia thought about the journey that had brought them here. Her father's manipulation had turned into the greatest gift, pushing her toward a life she never knew she wanted, with a man who saw beyond her family name to the woman she truly was. The sun set over the cornfields, painting the sky in brilliant hues. In the distance, the lights of town twinkled on, and closer, the farmhouse windows glowed with warmth. Home. Their home. We should call your father, Carter murmured against her hair. Olivia smiled. He's going to be unbearably smug about this. You know, he earned it. His plan worked. Not exactly as he intended, she pointed out. I'm not marrying you for your money or your company. Carter's eyes crinkled with amusement. No, you're marrying me for my roosters and my tractors. And your coffee, she kissed him again. Don't forget your excellent coffee. As night fell around them, they stayed wrapped in each other's arms, planning their future, a future neither had imagined. Months ago, a future built on truth, respect, and love that had grown from the most unexpected beginning. William Lancaster's scheme had worked after all, but not in the way he'd planned. He'd sent his daughter to learn humility from a humble farmer, never imagining she would find herself instead. And in finding herself, she had found the love she'd never known she was looking for. News of Olivia and Carter's engagement spread quickly through the small town. Martha Wilson organized an impromptu celebration at her restaurant, where locals gathered to congratulate the couple. Never thought I'd see the day when Carter Hayes was finally caught, joked Ed Wilson, Martha's husband and the town's former mayor, and by a city girl no less, Martha added with a wink at Olivia. Though you're looking more like a farm woman every day, dear. It was true. Olivia's designer clothes had mostly been replaced by jeans and practical tops. Her manicured nails were often dirty from gardening, and her once perfect hair was usually pulled back in a simple ponytail, but she'd never felt more herself. When's the wedding? Someone called out. Carter looked at Olivia, eyebrows raised in question. They hadn't discussed dates yet. We're thinking fall, Olivia answered smoothly. After harvest, Carter squeezed her hand in silent agreement. He understood. Without words. She wasn't rushing into marriage, but she wasn't running from it either. Fall gave them time to settle into their relationship, to be sure this was what they both wanted. Later that night, as they drove back to the farm, Carter asked, Fall, huh? Is that okay? I just thought with the harvest and everything. It's perfect, he said. Practical. That's becoming your specialty. Olivia laughed. Me? Practical. Daddy would have a heart attack if he heard you say that. Speaking of your father, should we call him tonight? She nodded. I suppose we should. William. Lancaster's reaction was exactly as Olivia had predicted. Smug satisfaction radiated through the phone. I believe congratulations are in order, he said when they shared the news, though I can't say I'm surprised. You're not taking credit for this, Daddy, Olivia warned, though her tone was light. This happened despite your scheming, not because of it, William chuckled. Whatever you say, sweetheart, the important thing is that you're happy, are you? Olivia looked at Carter, who was leaning against the kitchen counter, watching her with affection. "Yes, Daddy, I really am." "Then my work here is done. Carter, take care of my girl." "Always," Carter promised. After hanging up, Olivia shook her head. "He's going to be insufferable about this forever." Carter wrapped his arms around her. "Let him have his moment. After all, he did bring us together, even if it wasn't exactly how he planned." "True," she conceded. "But don't tell him I admitted that." Their engagement brought changes to the farm. Olivia's design business continued to grow, with orders coming in from neighboring towns as word spread. Carter converted the entire outbuilding into a proper studio, installing professional equipment and hiring a local woman to help with sewing. Olivia found herself busier than she'd ever been in her previous life of leisure, but the work was satisfying in a way. Shopping and parties had never been. Creating clothes that made women feel beautiful gave her a sense of purpose she'd been missing. Carter, meanwhile, continued balancing farm work with running his company. Olivia now joined him for some business meetings, offering a fresh perspective that his team valued. They discovered they made good business partners as well as romantic ones. One morning, as they shared breakfast, Carter mentioned casually, "Your father called yesterday. Asked if we'd consider having the wedding at the Lancaster estate." Olivia nearly choked on her coffee. "He what?" "Said he wanted to give his only daughter the wedding she deserves." Carter watched her reaction carefully. "What do you think?" She set down her mug, considering. "Honestly, I've been picturing something here. Something simple with just the people who matter to us." Relief flickered across Carter's face. "That's what I told him you'd say." "But?" Olivia sensed there was more, but he made a good point about family traditions, and he seemed genuinely hurt at the idea of not hosting your wedding. Olivia sighed. Her father had never been an emotional man, but the engagement had brought out a sentimental side of him she rarely saw. "What if we compromise? Ceremony here, reception at the estate?" Carter smiled. "I think that's perfect. The best of both worlds." The wedding plans progressed smoothly, with Olivia designing her own dress, a simple but elegant creation that reflected her new life while honoring her sense of style. Carter cleared a field specifically for the ceremony, planting wildflowers that would bloom just in time for their fall wedding. As summer faded into early autumn, life settled into a pleasant routine. Mornings on the farm, afternoons in the studio, evenings planning their future together. It was a life Olivia had never imagined wanting, but now couldn't imagine living without. Then, 6 weeks before the wedding, everything changed. It started with a phone call. Carter was in the fields when his assistant called Olivia at the studio. "Ms. Lancaster, I'm sorry to bother you, but there's a situation at headquarters. The Peterson deal, there's been a complication. We can't reach Carter." "What kind of complication?" Olivia asked, hearing the tension in the woman's voice. "James Peterson is threatening to pull out and sign with Mid-State Agriculture instead. He's at the office now, demanding to speak with Carter." The Peterson deal was important. A partnership that would allow Hayes Agricultural Enterprises to expand its sustainable farming practices to hundreds of additional acres. Carter had been working on it for months. "Tell Mr. Peterson that Carter is on his way," Olivia said decisively. "I'll find him right now." She drove the truck out to the south field where Carter was checking irrigation systems. When she explained the situation, his expression darkened. "Peterson's bluffing. Mid-State. Can't offer what we can." "Your assistant didn't seem to think it was a bluff." Carter checked his watch. "It'll take me an hour to get to the office. By then he might have already left." An idea formed in Olivia's mind. "What if I go? I could stall him until you arrive." "You?" Carter looked surprised. "This is a complex agricultural deal, Olivia." She felt a flash of irritation. "I've sat in on enough meetings to understand the basics, and I'm not proposing to negotiate, just to keep him there until you can." Carter hesitated, clearly torn between the crisis at the office and doubts about sending Olivia. "Fine," he finally agreed. "But just keep the conversation general. Don't get into details or make any promises." Olivia drove to the office, her mind racing. She had paid attention during Carter's business meetings, had read through proposals and contracts when he brought work home. She understood more than he gave her credit for. At headquarters, she found James Peterson pacing the conference room, his face flushed with annoyance. "Mr. Peterson," she greeted him with professional warmth, "I'm Olivia Lancaster, Carter's fiancée." The older man looked her up and down skeptically. "William Lancaster's daughter. What are you doing here?" "Carter asked me to speak with you while he finishes up at the farm. He'll be here within the hour." Peterson scoffed. "I don't have an hour. Midstate made me an offer this morning that beats Hayes's proposal by 5%. Olivia maintained her composure. "May I ask what specifically about their offer appeals to you?" The question seemed to surprise him. He explained the details of Midstate's proposal: higher upfront payments, fewer requirements for sustainable practices. "More money, fewer strings," Olivia summarized. "That's certainly attractive in the short term." "Exactly," Peterson said, relaxing slightly now that he felt understood. "But what about the long term?" Olivia asked. She moved to the whiteboard and picked up a marker. "May I?" Curiosity overcame Peterson's impatience. He nodded. Drawing on everything she'd learned from Carter and her own business sense, Olivia sketched out a 10-year projection comparing the two offers. She highlighted how Midstate's approach would lead to soil depletion and decreased yields over time, while Hayes's sustainable methods would maintain soil health and consistent production. "The 5% more you get now will cost you 20% in yields within a decade," she concluded. "Not to mention the environmental impact on land that I understand has been in your family for generations." Peterson stared at her calculations, then at Olivia. "You're not what I expected." "From a socialite turned farmer's fiancée?" she asked with a smile. "From William Lancaster's daughter," he clarified. "He's known for his ruthless business tactics. You're talking about sustainability and long-term thinking." "I've learned a few things from Carter," Olivia admitted, "and from the farm." By the time Carter arrived, breathless and prepared for a confrontation, he found Olivia and Peterson reviewing an amended contract that actually improved the terms for Hayes Agricultural Enterprises, while giving Peterson the security he wanted. "We've been having a productive conversation," Olivia explained, noting Carter's stunned expression. Later, after Peterson had signed the revised contract and left, Carter turned to Olivia, still looking shocked. "You negotiated a better deal than we originally proposed." "I just applied what I've learned from you," she said modestly. Carter shook his head in amazement. "No, that was all you. Your insights about incentivizing the transition to sustainable practices over time instead of demanding immediate changes. That was brilliant." Pride swelled in Olivia's chest. "So you're not mad that I went beyond stalling him?" "Mad?" Carter laughed. "I'm thinking of putting you on the payroll." On the drive home, Carter grew thoughtful. "You know, you have a natural talent for business strategy. Your father's influence, perhaps?" "Maybe," Olivia conceded. "Or maybe I just needed the right context to discover it. Designer clothes and charity galas never inspired me, but sustainable agriculture and helping family farms survive, that matters." Carter glanced at her, his expression soft. "You're full of surprises, Olivia Lancaster." "Soon to be Olivia Hayes," she reminded him. "Though I might keep Lancaster from my design business." "Lancaster Hayes has a nice ring to it," Carter suggested, "for both businesses." The idea of merging their professional lives along with their personal ones felt right. They were building something together, a marriage, a family, a legacy. 2 weeks before the wedding, Olivia was reviewing fabric samples in her studio when Martha Wilson burst in, her usual cheerful expression replaced by concern. "Olivia, dear, have you seen the newspaper?" "Not today." "Why?" Martha hesitated, then placed the business section of the regional paper on Olivia's work table. The headline made her blood run cold. "Agricultural mogul Carter Hayes linked to water. Contamination scandal." The article alleged that one of Hayes Agricultural Enterprises' processing facilities had been dumping chemical waste into the groundwater for years, potentially affecting neighboring farms and communities. "This is ridiculous," Olivia said, scanning the article. "Carter's entire business philosophy is built on sustainable practices. He would never—" Her voice trailed off as she read the name of the anonymous source, who had provided documents to support the allegations. Richard Townsend, the wealthy businessman her father had originally wanted her to marry. "Where's Carter?" she asked, suddenly worried. "At the feed store," Martha said. "But his phone's been ringing non-stop. Everyone's talking about it." Olivia tried calling Carter, but he didn't answer. She drove into town, finding a crowd gathered outside the feed store. Carter was standing on the steps, addressing the concerned farmers. "I assure you these allegations are completely false," he was saying as Olivia approached. "Hayes Agricultural Enterprises has always maintained the highest environmental standards. We will fight these baseless claims and clear our name." Despite his confident words, Olivia could see the strain in his face. This wasn't just a business crisis, it was personal. These were his neighbors, people who had known him his entire life. "We believe you, Carter," Ed Wilson called out. "Someone's got it in for you, that's all." Not someone, Olivia thought. Richard Townsend. But why now? And how had he manufactured evidence convincing enough for a newspaper to print? Back at the farm, Carter immediately contacted his legal team. While he made calls, Olivia did some investigating of her own, starting with a call to her father. "Have you seen the accusations against Carter?" she demanded when William answered. "I have. Troubling, if true." "It's not true," Olivia said firmly. "And I think Richard Townsend is behind it." A pause. "What makes you say that?" "He's the anonymous source quoted in the article, and it's too convenient. 2 weeks before our wedding, suddenly Carter's reputation is under attack. Richard's always been vindictive, Daddy." "You know that," William sighed. "I'll make some calls, see what I can find out." While her father worked his connections, Olivia drove to the processing facility mentioned in the article. As Carter's fiancée, she was granted access to records and allowed to speak with employees. What she found confirmed her suspicions. The facility's waste management protocols were impeccable, with multiple safeguards and regular testing that would have immediately revealed any contamination. She took photos, collected statements from longtime employees, and gathered testing records from an independent environmental monitoring agency that had been contracted by Carter years ago. When she returned to the farm, she found Carter sitting at the kitchen table, looking exhausted. "The lawyers think we can sue for defamation," he said, "but the damage to our reputation—" "We have more than a legal defense," Olivia interrupted, spreading her findings on the table. "We have proof the allegations are false, and I think I know why Richard Townsend is doing this." Carter looked up sharply. "Townsend? Your father's original pick for you?" Olivia nodded. "I did some digging. Guess who recently became a major investor? And Mid-State Agriculture. Townsend," Carter groaned. "So this is about business and personal revenge. He loses me to you, then watches you secure the Peterson deal that Mid-State wanted," Olivia summarized. "Double humiliation. But falsifying environmental violations, that's criminal." Olivia's phone rang, her father calling back. "I think we're about to get more information." William's voice was grim. "You were right about Townsend. My sources say he paid a lab technician to falsify water test results. The man's already confessed to the fraud." Relief flooded through Olivia. "So we can clear Carter's name?" "The newspaper is preparing a retraction for tomorrow's edition. And Townsend—" William paused. "Let's just say he'll be preoccupied with his own legal troubles for the foreseeable future." After thanking her father, Olivia relayed the news to Carter. The tension visibly drained from his body. "I don't know what I would have done without you," he said, pulling her into a tight embrace. "You were amazing today." "We're partners," she reminded him, "in everything." The crisis brought them closer, cementing their bond in a way that peaceful days hadn't. They'd faced adversity together and emerged stronger. The newspaper's retraction was even more prominent than the original story, with a full explanation of Townsend's deception and a profile of Hayes Agricultural Enterprises' actual environmental record, which was exemplary. The community rallied around Carter, their support never really having wavered. "You know what the strangest part is?" Carter said as they discussed the incident a few days later. "I'm almost grateful it happened." Olivia looked at him questioningly. "It showed me something I might not have seen otherwise, how completely you're in this with me. Not just the good times, but the challenges too." Did you doubt that? Carter shook his head. Not doubt exactly, but there's knowing something, and then there's seeing it in action. Watching you fight for me, for the company, for the truth. It was something else, Olivia. She smiled, understanding what he meant. Their relationship had been tested and had emerged stronger than ever. The wedding day dawned clear and crisp, a perfect autumn morning. The wildflower field Carter had planted was a riot of gold, purple, and orange blooms. White chairs formed a semicircle around a simple wooden arch that Carter had built himself. In the farmhouse bedroom that was now definitively hers, Olivia stood in her wedding dress, an elegant creation of silk and lace that combined simplicity and sophistication. Martha and several local women who had become friends helped with final adjustments. "You look beautiful, dear," Martha said, tears in her eyes. Carter won't know what hit him. A knock at the door revealed William Lancaster, handsome in a tuxedo. That probably cost more than some people's cars. His expression softened when he saw his daughter. "You remind me of your mother," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Olivia blinked back tears. "That's the best compliment you could give me." The women tactfully left them alone. "I owe you an apology," William said once they were private. "I was wrong to try to control your life, to push you toward men I deemed suitable." "Even Carter?" Olivia asked with a small smile. "Even Carter," he admitted, "though I can't say I'm sorry about how that particular manipulation turned out." "Neither am I," she confessed. "But for future reference, Daddy, I can make my own decisions." William nodded. "I know that now. You've grown into an impressive woman, Olivia. Your mother would be so proud." He offered his arm, and together they walked down to the field where guests had gathered. Local farmers sat alongside business associates and a few of Olivia's friends from her previous life, worlds colliding in celebration of a union no one could have predicted. Carter waited by the arch, tall and handsome in a dark suit. His face, when he saw Olivia, was everything she had hoped for: love, admiration, and a touch of awe. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promises to support each other's dreams, to face challenges together, to build a life based on honesty and respect. "I came to this farm angry and determined to hate everything about it," Olivia said, her voice carrying across the hushed gathering. "Instead, I found myself, and I found you, the man who saw me clearly when I couldn't even see myself." Carter's vows were equally moving. "You challenged me to be fully myself, not just the farmer, not just the businessman, but the whole complicated person. You make me better, Olivia, and I promise to spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you." As they exchanged rings and were pronounced husband and wife, Olivia felt a sense of rightness settle over her. This was where she belonged, with this man on this land, living this beautifully unexpected life. The reception at the Lancaster estate was more elaborate, with crystal chandeliers and champagne fountains alongside touches of rustic charm that Olivia had insisted on. City friends mingled with farm neighbors, creating unlikely connections. William Lancaster raised his glass in a toast. "When I sent my daughter to Carter's farm, I thought I was teaching her a lesson. Instead, she taught me one, about finding your own path and having the courage to follow it even when it leads somewhere unexpected." He turned to the couple. "To Olivia and Carter Hayes, may your life together be as rich and fruitful as the land you tend." As the evening progressed, Olivia found a moment alone with her new husband, slipping away to the garden where she had sat contemplating her feelings weeks before. "Happy, Mrs. Hayes?" Carter asked, his arms encircling her waist. "Completely," she assured him, "though part of me is ready to go home to the farm." "Home," he repeated, savoring the word. "I like how that sounds." Olivia leaned into his embrace. "I never thought I'd consider a farmhouse home. Now I can't imagine living anywhere else." "We could build a new house," Carter suggested. "Something bigger, more modern." Olivia shook her head. "I love our house just as it is. It has character, history, and a temperamental rooster who has it in for you," Carter added with a laugh. "Every home needs its challenges," she replied, turning in his arms to face him. Besides, there's nothing wrong with starting our family in a house with some history. Carter's eyes widened slightly. Family? Are you saying? Not yet, Olivia smiled. But someday soon, perhaps. I think I might be ready for that adventure. The idea of children, little ones with Carter's blue eyes or her blonde hair, running through cornfields and learning to care for animals, filled her with unexpected longing. Another surprise in a life that had become beautifully unpredictable. "Love you, Olivia Hayes," Carter said softly, "more than I ever thought possible." "I love you too," she whispered. "My millionaire farmer." As they rejoined the reception, Olivia caught her father's eye across the room. He raised his glass in a private toast, acknowledgement of a plan that had succeeded beyond his wildest expectations. Not because he had forced her hand, but because he had unintentionally led her to exactly where she needed to be. The spoiled socialite and the secret millionaire, an unlikely match that had grown into a love story neither could have scripted. A story of two people discovering their true selves in each other's eyes, building a future rooted in the fertile soil of honesty, respect, and love. And as they danced under the stars, surrounded by friends and family from both their worlds, Olivia knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, equal partners in the business of life. The first year of marriage passed in a happy blur for Olivia and Carter. Winter brought cozy evenings by the fireplace. Spring meant planting new crops and watching Olivia's garden bloom. Summer filled their days with hard work and warm nights under star-filled skies. And fall brought a bountiful harvest and their first anniversary. Lancaster Hayes Designs had grown from a small operation in a converted outbuilding to a thriving business that employed 5 local women. Olivia's practical yet elegant clothing had developed a following beyond the local community, with orders coming in from boutiques in the city. She had even been featured in a regional fashion magazine as an up-and-coming designer who understood real women's needs. Carter's agricultural empire continued to expand, but always with an eye towards sustainability and supporting local farming communities. With Olivia's input, Hayes Agricultural Enterprises had launched a program to help family farms transition to more profitable and environmentally friendly practices, providing both financial support and expertise. Their personal and professional lives had found a comfortable balance, each supporting the other's dreams while building something meaningful together. "I was thinking," Carter said one winter evening as they sat by the fire, "maybe it's time to renovate the west side of the house." Olivia looked up from her sketchpad. "What did you have in mind?" "Another bedroom, maybe 2. His eyes met hers meaningfully. Her heart skipped. They had discussed children, agreed they wanted a family, but had decided to enjoy their first year of marriage before actively trying. "Are you saying you're ready?" she asked softly. Carter nodded. "If you are." Olivia set aside her sketches and moved to sit beside him on the sofa. "I'm ready. Actually, I've been thinking about it too." "Really?" His face brightened. "The farm needs little Hayes feet running around," she said, snuggling against him. "Children who will learn to care for the land and appreciate what you've built here." Carter kissed her forehead. "What we've built together." 3 months later, Olivia stared at the pregnancy test in disbelief. 2 pink lines. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. They had been trying, but somehow she hadn't expected it to happen so quickly. Carter was in the fields when she got the news. She decided to surprise him, driving the familiar path to the south pasture where he was mending fences. He looked up at the sound of the truck, a questioning expression on his face as she approached. "Everything okay?" he asked, setting down his tools. Olivia couldn't hold back her smile. "Everything's perfect, but we might need to start on those renovations sooner than we thought." It took him a moment to understand. When he did, joy spread across his features. He swept her into his arms, spinning her around carefully. "You're pregnant? Really?" She nodded, laughing at his exuberance. "Really? About 6 weeks along, I think." Carter placed a gentle hand on her still flat stomach, awe in his eyes. "A baby. Our baby." The news spread quickly through the small town. Martha. Wilson immediately began knitting baby blankets, while Ed offered to build a crib as a gift. Olivia's father was equally thrilled at the prospect of becoming a grandfather, promising to spoil the child thoroughly, despite Carter and Olivia's protests. As Olivia's body changed, she adapted her clothing designs to include a maternity line. That was both comfortable and stylish. "No reason expectant mothers can't look good while they're growing a human," she told Carter as she worked on prototypes. The pregnancy progressed smoothly through spring and into summer. Carter was attentive without being overprotective, making sure Olivia rested when needed, but respecting her desire to stay active in both her design business and around the farm. One hot July afternoon, Olivia was working in her studio when she felt the baby move for the first time, a flutter like butterfly wings inside her. She gasped, placing a hand on her growing belly. "Hello there, little one," she whispered. "I can't wait to meet you." That evening, as she and Carter sat on the porch swing watching fireflies dance over the fields, she guided his hand to the spot where she'd felt movement. They waited patiently until the baby kicked again and Carter's face lit up with wonder. "That's amazing," he breathed. "How does it feel?" "Strange," Olivia admitted, "but wonderful too, like carrying a miracle." As her due date approached, they completed renovations on the house, adding 2 bedrooms and updating the old bathroom. The nursery was painted a soft yellow, gender-neutral, since they had decided to be surprised. Carter installed bookshelves and a rocking chair while Olivia selected curtains and bedding in cheerful patterns. "Do you have a preference?" Carter asked one night as they lay in bed, his hand resting on her now prominent belly. "Boy or girl?" Olivia considered the question. "I just want a healthy baby, though I've been dreaming about a little boy with your blue eyes. I've been imagining a girl with your smile and determination," Carter confessed. "Either way, this child will be loved," Olivia said with certainty, "and probably spoiled by Grandpa William." Carter laughed. "Definitely spoiled by Grandpa William." Their lives seemed perfect. A thriving marriage, successful businesses, a baby on the way. But life, as Olivia had learned, rarely progressed without challenges. The trouble began in early September, when Olivia was 7 months pregnant. The summer had been unusually dry, and farmers throughout the region were struggling with reduced yields. Hayes Agricultural Enterprises had weathered the drought better than most, thanks to efficient irrigation systems, but smaller farms were suffering. "The Peterson farm is in trouble," Carter told Olivia one evening, his expression grave. "James says they might not survive another season if things don't turn around. Can we help them?" Olivia asked. The Petersons had become friends since the business deal that Olivia had helped secure. Carter sighed. "I've offered financial assistance, but James is proud. And there's a bigger issue. The Regional Water Authority is proposing restrictions that would limit irrigation for all farms in the area. But that would be devastating, especially after this drought." "Exactly. There's a town meeting tomorrow night. I need to be there." The meeting at the town hall was packed with concerned farmers. Olivia sat beside Carter, listening as officials explained the proposed water restrictions. The plan seemed poorly thought out, prioritizing urban areas over the agricultural community that formed the backbone of the region's economy. When Carter stood to speak, the room fell silent. His reputation as a successful farmer and businessman gave his words weight, but it was his connection to the community that commanded respect. "These restrictions as proposed would destroy many family farms in our area," he said, his voice steady. "Farms that have fed this community for generations. We understand the need for conservation, but there are smarter approaches that won't sacrifice our livelihoods." A representative from the Water Authority responded defensively. "Mr. Hayes, your operation might be able to absorb these changes, but the authority has to consider all users. The urban areas are growing rapidly, and their needs include food," Olivia interrupted, rising to stand beside Carter. Her pregnancy made her an imposing figure, and her time as William Lancaster's daughter had taught her how to command attention. "Food that we grow. There has to be a balance." Carter glanced at her with pride before continuing. "I've prepared an alternative proposal, one that implements new technologies to reduce water usage while meeting the needs of both agricultural and urban areas." He outlined a plan that included incentives for farms to adopt more efficient irrigation systems, scheduled usage to minimize waste, and community education about conservation. Hayes Agricultural Enterprises is prepared to fund pilot programs. On several local farms, he concluded, we can demonstrate that conservation and successful farming aren't mutually exclusive. The proposal was met with enthusiastic support from the farming community, but the Water Authority representatives remained skeptical. After the meeting, one of them approached Carter and, "Olivia, impressive presentation, Mr. Hayes," the man said, "but frankly, the political pressure is coming from the urban side. They have more voters, more money, more influence." "Then we need to change the narrative," Olivia said before Carter could respond. "This isn't farmers versus city dwellers. It's about sustainable communities and secure food sources." The man looked at her with new interest. "You sound like you have experience with public relations, Mrs. Hayes." Olivia was raised in the city, Carter explained. "She understands both perspectives. And I have connections," Olivia added, an idea forming, including a father with considerable influence. On the drive home, Carter glanced at her curiously. "What are you planning?" "A campaign," Olivia said, her mind already racing. "Not just to fight these restrictions, but to bridge the gap between urban and rural communities, to show city people where their food comes from and why supporting local farms matters." Over the next few weeks, Olivia threw herself into organizing what became known as the Know Your Farmer campaign. Despite being in her 8th month of pregnancy, she coordinated farm tours for city residents, arranged for local produce to be featured in urban restaurants with special menus highlighting the farms of origin, and worked with her father to secure media coverage. William Lancaster, impressed by his daughter's passion, leveraged his business connections to bring influential city leaders to tour the Hayes farm and others in the community. "I never thought I'd see William Lancaster in muddy boots," Martha Wilson remarked, as she served lunch to a group of visiting city council members. "Your father has certainly embraced farm life." Olivia smiled, watching her father earnestly explaining crop rotation to a confused but interested councilwoman. "He's a good grandfather to be, wants to make sure this little one has a thriving community to grow up in." The campaign gained momentum, with social media posts and news stories showcasing the human faces behind local agriculture. Olivia's background in fashion came in handy, as she ensured the visual elements were compelling and authentic. Carter took the lead on the technical side, demonstrating water-saving technologies and sustainable practices that could serve as a model for other regions facing similar conflicts. Together, they were a formidable team. Carter's agricultural expertise and community roots paired with Olivia's social connections and fresh perspective. What had begun as a response to water restrictions evolved into a movement to strengthen connections between urban and rural areas. "You're amazing," Carter told her late one night as she finally set aside her laptop. "But you need to rest." "The baby is fine," Olivia assured him, placing his hand on her belly where the baby was actively moving, "and seems to be as energetic about this campaign as I am." Carter's expression grew serious. "I'm proud of what we're doing, but I'm worried about you. You're pushing yourself too hard." "I'm being careful," she promised. "But this matters, Carter, not just for us, but for all the farming families who can't fight for themselves the way we can." He nodded, understanding. This was one of the things he loved most about her. The passion that had once been directed toward shopping and parties was now focused on causes that made a difference. 2 weeks before Olivia's due date, the Water Authority announced a revised plan that incorporated many of Carter's suggestions. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a workable compromise that would allow farms to operate while still addressing conservation needs. The farming community gathered at Martha's restaurant to celebrate, with Olivia as the guest of honor. "To the city girl who became our champion," Ed Wilson toasted, raising his glass. "Who would have thought?" Olivia laughed, one hand resting on her enormous belly. "Certainly not me, a year and a half ago. I couldn't tell corn from wheat." "And now she's correcting my crop rotation plans," Carter added with a proud smile. The party was still going strong when Olivia felt the first contraction. She dismissed it as Braxton Hicks, the false contractions she'd been experiencing for weeks. But when another followed 20 minutes later, sharper than before, she nudged Carter. "I think we might need to leave soon," she whispered. His eyes widened. "The baby? Now?" "Don't panic," she advised, though her own heart was racing. "We have time." They slipped away quietly, not wanting to alarm the gathering. Carter drove to the hospital in the next town, making record time on the country roads, while Olivia focused on her breathing. "How are you so calm?" he asked, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "One of us has to be," she replied, then winced as another contraction hit. "Though I might not stay calm much longer." At the hospital, things progressed quickly. Olivia's labor was intense but straightforward, her body seeming to know exactly what to do. Carter remained by her side, supporting her through each contraction, his steady presence grounding her when the pain threatened to overwhelm. "You're doing great," he encouraged, as the doctor announced it was time to push. "Almost there." With a final tremendous effort, Olivia brought their child into the world. The sound of a lusty cry filled the room. "It's a boy," the doctor announced, placing the squirming infant on Olivia's chest. "A healthy boy." Tears streamed down Olivia's face as she gazed at their son. He had a tuft of dark hair and, when he briefly opened his eyes, she caught a glimpse of deep blue. "Hello, little one," she whispered. "We've been waiting for you." Carter leaned down, wrapping his arms around both of them, his own eyes wet with tears. "He's perfect. You're perfect. I love you both so much." They named him Thomas William Hayes. Thomas after Carter's father, William after Olivia's father. When William Lancaster arrived at the hospital the next morning, his usual confident demeanor crumbled at the sight of his grandson. "May I hold him?" he asked, uncharacteristically tentative. Olivia carefully transferred the swaddled baby to her father's arms. William stared down at the tiny face with wonder. "He looks like you did as a newborn," he told Olivia. "Except those eyes. Those..." "Harold Carter. We're calling him Tommy," Carter said. William nodded approvingly. "A good, strong name for a farm boy. And future fashion designer if he wants," Olivia added with a smile, "or whatever he chooses to be." The first weeks with Tommy were a whirlwind of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and overwhelming love. Olivia discovered depths of patience she never knew she possessed, while Carter revealed a gentle, nurturing side that made her fall in love with him all over again. The farm adjusted to accommodate its newest resident. Carter installed a baby monitor that reached to the field so he could hear Tommy while working. Olivia set up a portable crib in her studio, allowing her to sketch designs while the baby napped nearby. By the time Tommy was 3 months old, Olivia had completed a new collection inspired by motherhood, practical, beautiful clothes for women navigating the demands of family and career. The line received immediate attention from retailers, who recognized the growing market for well-designed women's wear that didn't sacrifice style for function. "You've found your niche," Carter observed, as they reviewed orders one evening. Tommy was asleep in his bassinet beside them, one tiny hand flung above his head. "Clothes for real women living real lives." "It took living a real life myself to understand what was needed," Olivia replied, thinking of her former existence of cocktail dresses and formal galas. Motherhood just made it clearer. As Tommy grew, so did their businesses and their bond. As a couple, the Know Your Farmer campaign had evolved into a permanent program connecting urban and rural communities, with the Hayes Farm serving as a model for educational outreach. On Tommy's first birthday, they hosted a party at the farm. For both their worlds, city friends mingling with farm neighbors, business people chatting with local craftspeople. The unlikely community they had built reflected the bridge they had created in their own lives. William Lancaster, now a doting grandfather who visited the farm weekly, watched his daughter move confidently among the guests, Tommy on her hip. She stopped to discuss irrigation techniques with a farmer, then seamlessly transitioned to answering questions about her latest design collection from a boutique owner. "She's quite something, your wife," William commented to Carter, who had joined him with a glass of lemonade. "She is," Carter agreed, his eyes following Olivia with obvious love. "Not the same woman you sent to me that day." No, William acknowledged. She's better, happier, more herself. Your plan worked out pretty well, Carter conceded. William chuckled. Pure luck. I was just hoping she'd learn some humility. Instead, she found her purpose. And you. Across the yard, Olivia caught Carter's eye and smiled. That special smile she reserved only for him. In it was everything they had built together. Trust, respect, partnership, and love that had grown from the most unexpected beginning. Later that night, after the guests had gone and Tommy was tucked into his crib, Olivia and Carter sat on the porch swing, their favorite spot for quiet moments together. Happy? Carter asked, his arm around her shoulders. Completely, she assured him, leaning into his embrace. Though I've been thinking. Dangerous, he teased. She playfully elbowed him. I'm serious. I've been thinking about expanding the design business, opening a proper shop in town, not just for my clothes, but as a showcase for other local artisans too. Carter nodded thoughtfully. A community marketplace. I like it. And maybe, she added hesitantly, we could think about giving Tommy a brother or sister. Not right away, but his face lit up. I'd like that. A house full of children running through the fields, learning to drive tractors, helping with the animals, and designing clothes and running businesses, Olivia added, if they want to. Of course, Carter agreed. Our children will be free to follow their own paths, just like their mother did. Olivia looked out over the darkened fields, thinking about the journey that had brought her here. From the spoiled socialite who had arrived at this farm in designer, shoes and a bad attitude to the woman she was now, mother, wife, designer, advocate for the community she had grown to love. I never thanked my father properly, she realized. For sending you here? For the best mistake he ever made, she clarified. He thought he was teaching me a lesson by making me marry a poor farmer. Instead, he gave me the life I never knew I wanted. Carter kissed her softly. And gave me the partner I never knew I needed. As they swayed gently on the porch swing, the farm quiet around them and their son sleeping peacefully inside, Olivia felt a contentment that her younger self could never have imagined. This simple life, though backed by wealth neither of them flaunted, had proven richer than all her previous pursuits combined. William Lancaster had sent his daughter to marry a humble farmer, not knowing he was a secret millionaire. But the real secret, Olivia now understood, had nothing to do with money. The true wealth was in the life they had built together, a life of purpose, community, family, and love that grew stronger with each passing day. And as the stars twinkled over the fields that had brought them together, Olivia and Carter Hayes looked toward the future they would continue to build, not as the socialite and the millionaire farmer, but simply as two people who had found in each other exactly what they needed to become their best selves. The end.